This is the first live of a series countdown, and we are at 91 weekdays to go. I started this year off thinking I'd work at least 4 more years, right up until I turned 59 and a half, when I could draw down from my retirement accounts without penalty. A responsible, predictable, safe plan. By August, I was already counting down the weekdays to my last day at work. So, what cracked between January and August? What exactly happened that led us here today? I think that's what we're going to unpack tonight. Before we go any further, if anybody's out there, this is my first time doing a live, so bear with me if there are any glitches in the system tonight. Know that I am doing my very best, and I will work very hard to bring you content that is helpful and engaging as we move along. If you are out there, let me know. Or where are you watching from? How many more years are you yourself planning to work? Or have you already started thinking about what your exit plan looks like? I read the chats live, and we're doing this together. It's not just going to be me talking at you, or at least I hope it's not going to be just me talking at you, because I am sure that you all have great advice for me and have things for me to consider as I move along through this retirement process that I haven't thought of. So I am anxious to hear what others are thinking on that as well. If your job feels like it's the thing that pays for the life you actually want, I think you're in the right place tonight. I myself came into 2026 thinking I had a clear plan. Work until 59 and a half, keep stacking paid time off, keep doing what I've always done. But even then, my job was basically the vehicle that I used to fund what I considered my real life, my life of travel, for a lack of a better description. I always have had a trip on the calendar. And that's really what made me feel like work was even worthwhile. I'd be at my desk thinking about Thailand, maybe Panama, or my next cruise. My mental space was really split between work and planning my escape from work. If you've felt that split too, you are not alone. In February, I started to just feel the ground shift underneath me. I had a compensation discussion that honestly, it flat out disappointed me. And it wasn't just the number, not just the dollar amount, it was the actual return on investment, or rather, lack of return on investment. The energy that I was putting in wasn't matching what was coming back to me, whether that is by way of dollar amount, title, frankly, advancement in my career. And that's when I realized I was coming to work so that I could go on vacation. Not because I was fulfilled, not because I was growing, but because I needed a means to support my escapes from work. This reckoning was the first crack in my plan. Let me know in the chat if you've ever had a moment like that, where one conversation made you rethink your entire timeline. I would be interested to know if I'm sure I haven't, I'm certainly not the first person to have encountered this. My first instinct after that discussion took place was, it was simple. Maybe I just need a new job. Like maybe that's where we start with this. Maybe the environment is the problem. Maybe a change of scenery will reset the clock and change everything. But the more I thought about changing jobs, the more it just felt like a Band-Aid, because underneath it, there was something bigger. I have, for a very long time, had a plan to move abroad once I did retire. So I got to thinking, is there a way that I can make this happen sooner rather than later? As I thought through that, I scheduled some time to sit down with my financial advisor as well as my tax advisor and had them run the Monte Carlo simulations for me. The success score that they came back with was 90%, assuming that I'd spend about half of my year, at least the years in my early retirement, outside of the country. That in itself would allow me to keep my home here in the US and not have to rent it or sell it during my absences. And what's more, I found out that I qualified for the rule of 55 so that I could draw down some of my retirement funds without those dreaded penalties. I have a risk management background, so I tend to be pretty averse to risk in general. But even I thought 90%, hell, nothing in life is guaranteed. I mean, except for death, that is. So 10% uncertainty for me seemed like a chance I might be willing to take. The alternative, I thought, was staying at a job that no longer aligned with the effort, the energy, and the time that I was putting in. It all boiled down to, was I willing to invest more of my limited time just to hit a marker that someone else decided was safe? And just a quick note here, folks. This is not financial advice. This is not any retirement advice for you. This is just what was advised for my particular circumstance. Please be sure to talk with your own advisors about your numbers and how they fit with your specific plan. Let me know if you were given a 90% chance of living the life that you actually want. Like, would you take it? What does that number look like for you? Does it have to be better than 90% odds of succeeding? Or would you be comfortable at 75%? I have been asking myself that over the past months just to kind of gauge where I am with that. I see some comments have come in. Thank you so much. I see God's Ascent in the chat. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I'm a little nervous, so the support is just wonderful. Thank you for that. And I'll jump back in. So I didn't see anybody come in with their number. I really am super interested to hear what folks are thinking about as far as what number would work for them. Because like I said, it is, I am gauging that for myself. So it didn't, I didn't make the decision lightly or very quickly. It definitely wasn't overnight. I went back and forth for literally weeks. So I suspect it probably was more like months. Some days I felt super brave about it. And other days I was just flat out terrified. Like, it's the old tug of war between what is comfortable for us and what the possibilities are for us. And that went on until signs really just started stacking up for me. The first sign was kind of that hybrid plan that I started to develop, sketching out what half of the year outside of the country would look like for me and half of the year being here. Eventually, it started to not feel like a fantasy. It felt like it was doable, like it aligned with where I was supposed to be. The second sign was a slow travel run. I did a trial 2-week slow travel in Thailand. And I've got to tell you, it wasn't just good. It felt like the life I had been imagining for myself. I was waking up without rushing. I was living at a human pace, feeling connected, not feeling drained. There was a moment when just sitting at a beachside restaurant enjoying a $10 plate of prawns, when I thought to myself, I could legit live like this. Like, this is the life for me. And the math started to back me up on that. That 90% only made sense because the other side wasn't a guess. I'd already started building a slow travel itinerary. And as part of that hit list, I was actually able to book 24 nights in Jakarta for the equivalent of $369 in points. For me, this was the early indicator that sooner wasn't off the table. It wasn't pure fantasy. It was a $3,000 system that could fund up to 4.5 months of accommodations, at least in Southeast Asia, where your budget stretches only as far as your imagination. And sign number 3, I wound up having to get a biopsy this year. Folks, there is nothing like a health scare to make you think with greater clarity. Waiting on those results forces you to confront what actually matters. And I realized something, and it hit me hard. If I got the wrong result, was my first thought going to be, gee, I wish I'd done more PowerPoints and more pivot tables for my Excel spreadsheets? No, it wasn't. It was going to be, I wish I had been kinder to myself, and I wish I had gone and seen more of the world. Thank God the results came back and everything was benign. There were no atypical or malignant cells identified. And the moment that I had everything snap into place for me, that's the moment I decided to stop wishing, and I bought a one-way ticket to Malaysia. So that is how 2026 changed my retirement trajectory. It wasn't one big or dramatic event. It was a series of realizations, disappointments, conversations, and wake-up calls that all pointed in the same direction. And eventually I decided I am ready. I am retiring earlier than I planned. I am choosing the life I want now, not 4 years from now. So today, 91 weekdays to done, and we are counting down together. My hope is that by sharing this, it helps someone else who is wrestling with the same questions, because retirement is definitely not just a financial decision. It's a whole life decision. And sometimes the signs are there. We just aren't ready to admit it yet. So that's it for me today. All right, peeps, let's open it up. Drop any questions you have for me in the chat. I'd also love to hear about your timelines, your fears, your plans and dreams, whatever it is that you're navigating right now. I think you're right. God's ascent. I hope I am living life how humans are really meant to live, and just pursuing dreams. Asia, the cons, of course, are it is just very far away. And for me, I have, of course, my family is all in the United States. It is very hard on the body traveling back and forth. I will say that even in my trip to Thailand, I don't think I could have done it if it were less than 2 weeks. It is very hard. The longest leg of my flight there, one leg was over 18 hours, and there were 2 additional legs each way. So there are definitely some cons to Asia. And I think that as my retirement goes on and I bridge into Social Security, I probably will come closer to the US. My guess is probably I'll settle in Panama. I happen to really love it there. Let's see if there are any others. Diminishing returns, yes. I'm telling you, like I got so frustrated because I'm one of those people that I really do try to give my all at work. Like it is very important to me that the work that I put out there is not only what was asked of me, but I also do my best to give a little extra because I think there are things that sometimes when it's assigned to you, they haven't thought about. So I want to be able to like give a little extra and make sure that I'm providing value for, what I'm doing in the workplace. But I find that these days, a lot of employers say that their employees are their most valuable resource, but realistically, they do not treat them that way. I have started to call it the essential worker phenomenon, where during COVID, we would tell people they were essential workers, but none of them were being paid as such. This is indeed real, God's ascent. It is. And the more I research, the more, and I watch people's channels too that are out there doing this slow retirement lifestyle or even doing a hybrid situation like I am. And it really is a shift in mindset. And I know that what I'm doing is not available to everyone. Sometimes folks have, children here in the US that they can't be away or they are taking care of parents because we are in that sandwich generation, all of us. I don't know where you are on the generation chart. I happen to be Generation X, and we are taking care of parents, we are taking care of children, we are taking care of spouses and significant others. And so we certainly have those things that we are responsible for, and we can't all do that. But yeah, essential workers. Like I feel like so many people were lumped into those categories during COVID, but and even now when we look back, like, do we really think of them and all of the things that they did to make our lives more comfortable? You Gen X too? Yeah, yeah. Then the pain, the plight. We're also part of that generation that we don't have pensions available to us. A lot of our parents had that available to them. They weren't familiar with this whole 401k process. We are now shifted to a place where we're responsible for the retirement funds that we will have available, and we are wary of whether or not the Social Security will be there for us when the time comes. So I feel like we have so many stressors that, and not that other generations don't have stressors. I know a lot of our young people today are also, facing just headwinds when they come into the workplace. So I'm not saying that Gen X has it worse than anyone else, but we do have a unique circumstance for some of the generations when it comes to both caregiving, also when it comes to retirement income. And yep, we were at the end of that pension era. That was the boomers, and they are out there, some of them, a lot of them living their very best lives. I'm also seeing that a lot of boomers are not selling their homes, so that even housing has become unaffordable, especially in certain areas, because the availability of affordable housing just isn't there, and boomers aren't giving up their homes and either becoming, snowbirds or retiring to retirement villages and things like that, because it makes more sense for us to be, in our homes. That was one of my goals with retirement. So I did not want to rent or sell because I feel like I need a home base somewhere, and it might as well be at the home that I actually own. So I'm probably hogging up some of the market share on housing as well. And dare to search, it is never too late. You are not too old to relocate, but I certainly can understand the sentiment that, you've got things going on here and don't necessarily feel that it's your time to go. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think boomers could have imagined it either. But to their credit, like they really came through the Great Depression and things like that. It's so funny to me, even how so many things affect the generations differently, whether it's our communication styles, what our expectations are for work. For them, many of them stayed, they went to a job and they wound up staying there and retiring there for, 30, 40 years later. Whereas I think Generation X, we have always looked sort of for that upward mobility and the opportunity for lateral moves. And I feel like some of the other generations have really even taken it a step further. Like they are not playing. They are like, you're not loyal to me. I'm not loyal to you. I have no problem switching gears and going to another employer. So I do find it really remarkable, especially these days with so many generations in the workplace, because we still got some boomers in there. We've got X, we got Y, we got millennials, zillennials, and all of the others in place. Yep. Gift and curse, because they were savers. Like if you came through the Great Depression, you learned how to make a dollar stretch. You don't waste anything. Like everything has at least two jobs. And I operate by that phenomenon myself. My daughter tells me all the time, everything in your house has at least two jobs. I'm like, that's right, people and stuff. That ottoman is actually also a footstool as needed. Just checking out some of the yes, dare to search. You can get in my bag and stow away with me any day you want to. And especially, I think, given sort of the society that we're operating in now, I think more of us are contemplating, going abroad. So it's just that time. And I can't speak for others, but when I'm outside of the US, I feel lighter in a lot of ways. Our country is really marked currently by a lot of just conflict and a lot of heaviness. And it makes the day-to-day difficult because we still have to do all of the things while we are dealing with that. Like, and it is incredibly difficult to continue to operate and function and do all the things you need to do when you have other concerns on top of it. And I won't get into the political landscape at all because we all know kind of what that is. And actually, my channel and my approach and my retirement are all about sort of stepping outside of that and getting relief from that. So that's kind of where I am on that now. And yes, saving does mean something different these days. And it's funny that you brought that up, God's Ascent, because I feel like often we limit our ability to save because we deal with so many things in daily life that we feel like we've earned these treats, whether that's a new car or a remodeled kitchen or an upgraded house. It's time for us to have the next one. But we are constantly kind of chasing things that make us feel better about the things we're having to do, the life we're having to live. And it makes it so that it does keep us from saving in the way that we might have, to protect our futures. Oh my gosh, it is I am I'm glad you sort of brought that up about venturing abroad. There are a couple of things that I always encourage people. Like, I know not everybody is like me, is not going to get up and just go to Thailand by themselves, but there are a lot of even travel groups. There are people like me, small content creators, and then there, of course, are the big guys out there, but that will happily, share information with you about traveling abroad. I have yet to encounter any safety issues, and it's not like crime doesn't exist outside of the US. It certainly does. But frankly, a lot of times when you're outside of the country, you wind up in safer settings than you would be at home. Um, so the possibility is always there. There are concerns, like, of course, you do need to check and do your research and make sure how things are. And some of the things that we don't think of as safety issues, like, of course, we all think about, pickpockets or someone assaulting me or things like that. But there are some other things that we need to consider when we're going abroad. And some of those are just customs and norms in certain countries. I have a 36-year-old daughter, and she and I travel together frequently, and she is very huggy, kissy. Even at this age, she will often loop her arm in mine and, walk like that. And when we have been in certain countries in the Middle East, I have had to sort of warn her about that. People don't always, they don't look at us and necessarily know that we are mother and daughter. They may take from it that we are a same-sex couple. And in many countries, that is simply not acceptable. In many countries, it is against the law. You can truly get yourself into big trouble there. Let's see, what are some countries I'd recommend that is conducive to those who may be risk averse? Europe is the place to start. Like Europe, you will find a lot of countries are very, very similar to the US, although of course they have their great, wonderful architecture. And like, we think a building is old if it was made in, the 1700s, but they have some really, truly historic architecture, many hundreds of years old. But Europe is a wonderful place to go. For people who are risk averse. Panama is a wonderful place for people who are risk averse. It also operates on the US dollar. So I think it makes it easier when you're not trying to do those currency conversions in your head. I have found that almost everywhere, even whether it's Middle East, Latin America, even Asia at this point, most people know English. So I feel like that is an easier transition than people think, although you might automatically think, oh my gosh, I can't go there. I don't speak blah, 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 whatever it is, whether it's French or I don't speak Spanish or I don't speak Thai. It is very, very common that most other countries, folks know at least two languages, and one of them is often English. We are a country where being bilingual or multilingual is not promoted as much. We have kind of lucked out in our travels. My daughter speaks a fair amount of Spanish, and I happen to have minored in French. So we can cover those bases, but if we go somewhere else, we're out of luck too. And let's see, no, they never do grow up to us. Our kids are our kids, no matter how old they get. And frankly, I'm still a big kid myself. So I can't even blame that on the children. Dare to Search, you are absolutely right. My daughter has a 5-year plan of her own. She is working 2 jobs and saving currently. And her plan is that wherever I have settled in 5 years, she is coming. So she is dating someone rather seriously now. I don't know what that's going to look like. Although he said wherever she goes, he's going. So I think we may all be there, wherever that is. Let's see, where in Europe would you recommend? I've heard, oh my gosh. Europe, I absolutely love Greece. Like, I think Greece is just an incredible place, and not just because of the history, but one of the big things for me is in retirement, my plan is to be much, much kinder to myself and to focus on things that are healthy for me and my well-being. And of course, Greece is one of those blue zones where people live longer, healthier, more active lives. And isn't that what we all want? We want to be in a position where we are not just feeding, our bodies, but feeding our souls, and making it so that we can be as healthy as we can for as long as we can. So Greece is one of my big favorites when it comes to Europe. East Asia is just incredible because the cost of living is, it is bar none. You just cannot beat it. You just cannot beat it. While I was there in Thailand, there were days when I ordered out 3 meals. And I cannot think of more than 2 times when all 3 meals with delivery plus tip, there were very few times when it came to over $13. And that is for the whole day. Like you honestly cannot beat the cost of living there. You can find housing incredibly cheaply. And for retirees that are aging and require more care, their retirement options, their full-time care options are incredible. In Hua Hin, you are able to get 24-hour care, 2 caregivers for $1,400 a month. And to be honest, like that is just simply not available anywhere in the US. You are not going to find that. And it blows my mind what's available to you there. My very favorite meal during the 2 weeks that I was there, my favorite dinner was a $2.10 meal from the grocery store, where they would heat it up for you, put it on a plate if you wanted to eat there. And it was chicken, veggies, and rice with an egg on top. They tend to put an egg on top of everything. And during the 2 weeks there, I worked out not a single time, but I still managed to lose 6 pounds. And some of that, I imagine, was due to the heat, but I think a lot of it also was due to just the freshness of the food. Their food tends to be very veggie and fruit forward. And they also do not permit a lot of the like preservatives and food color and dyes that we allow into our foods in this country. So it was very easy to lose weight without even trying. So let's see. Hadn't thought about Greece. Yes, Greece. It is an absolutely wonderful place. Barcelona is also, I love it, but I hesitate to recommend it at this time in Spain because they have had some overcrowding and over tourism and have been a little not nice to tourists in heavy tour seasons. I think with summer out of the way, a lot of that may clear up, but it's one of my favorite places also. And then, yeah, food is a big part of my experience with travel. Like I almost think it's probably, yeah, it's number 2 on my list. The people are the first thing that I really just enjoy traveling to see how other people exist. It's very interesting that other cultures don't put sort of the rat race at the forefront of their societies. Like we are very heavy handed when it comes to like work. We are always busy, 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 whether it's in our work lives or whether it is at, home. We're getting kids here. We're getting this there. We're making sure parents get to doctor's appointments. We're doing all of the things. And it almost becomes a competition about who's busier than who else. We're taking our laptops on vacation. You will not find a lot of other countries doing that, especially in Europe. When they go on holiday, as they call it, like they are on holiday and you had better not reach out to them about anything that isn't holiday related. And even then, you better be on your best behavior. God's assent, I would not say don't go to Spain. Like Spain is still worth visiting, whether that's Madrid. Barcelona actually is just really, I happen to love Barcelona. And the food is incredible. If you are a seafood person, I have never had better red snapper in my life than what I had in Barcelona. So I would not take it off the list at all. I would make sure that, just maybe go in off season when it is not quite as busy and they probably aren't as irritated, like tourists aren't, um, you know, making their lives a little more miserable. And yes, the rat race is the main culprit that is robbing us because we are constantly on that wheel, the constant wheel, running, 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 and frankly, sometimes not getting very far at all, or winding up in the same place we started at. And you're like, how on earth did I get here? Like I did all that work and I'm still in the same place. So we've Yes, that is where the siestas come in, God's ascent. And they are not kidding about it. I've been in Barcelona, I think 4 or 5 times now. Like I said, it's one of my favorite European cities. They don't play about siestas. I have literally tried to go to a store or a restaurant at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and like you can forget it. Like it is not going to happen. Come back at dinner time. Like they mean it when they say they're on siesta. They are on siesta, and you better get whatever you need either before then or wait. And that is just the bottom line. And Sundays for them are truly dedicated to family. Like you will see families out biking, you will see them out at the beach in warmer weather. They are committed to what we call work-life balance, but we almost never are successful in managing. So, yeah, I think we should adopt siestas. I'm all about the siestas. And frankly, since I've started menopause, I'm doing my own siestas, even if they aren't culturally representative of this country. Oh, my goodness. Well, folks, I had planned just to go for half an hour this evening. I really just wanted to provide an update on sort of where I am in the journey this week, but the comments have been very helpful, and I appreciate the audience that is here tonight for joining me and also for keeping the conversation going and for bearing with me as I get started on this new endeavor. And hopefully, I will get better and make even better content. And your presence is really appreciated. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening and an enjoyable weekend. I will see you back here next Friday night for next week's update. Thanks all.